Hello spooky friends and welcome back to my channel. It is your weird creative makeup artist friend Kat to bring you another makeup effects video. This has been requested from one of you. I took one of your suggestions to make Art the Clown while we're gonna tell some spooky stories. So you can subscribe for more videos like this. We do 2 videos a week every Monday and Friday, not only doing effects videos but also beauty makeups and body paintings. We tell creepy stories sometimes or interesting tales. So if you want to see more, you can definitely subscribe and hit the notification bell. So Art the Clown, I have definitely seen this clown on the internet, but one of you guys made this comment suggesting I turn into Art the Clown, so we're gonna do that again while telling some spooky stories that I hope are real. I scoured the internet for these and let's see how scary they are. This person says that this story didn't happen to them, but it happened to a friend of theirs, and they're very nonchalant about it happening, which makes me think that this story is gonna be pretty scary because whenever people are so calm about things, but it's not, it's weird. So this story was around 8 or 9 at night, which wasn't too late, but the sun was definitely setting. Every time I use this prosthetic, it's like so crazy. It's one of the biggest noses ever. But their friend was driving home and stopped at a traffic light that was at an intersection by a highway. They lived in a small town, so there was hardly any other cars out at that time of night. And that was like the only stop light in the town, and she was in like the very left lane. Closer to the left turn, it was one of those 5-lane streets. So she was just minding her business at this stoplight, waiting for the light to turn green, and all of a sudden she hears something trying to pry open her passenger door. And as she's looking over, there is a drugged out homeless man trying to get into her car. She manages to grab the drink from the cup holder in her car and chucks it at the man. And when she threw that drink, it was like enough of a shock for him to back away so that she could shut the door right away, her car door. And she managed to lock it, but he tried to grab for the door again, and when she looked in his eyes, she could tell that he was totally out of it and drunk. But by the time she was looking at him in his face, the light had turned green, so she just drove out of there. If there was no other cars nearby, honestly, and the light wasn't green and you're in this type of situation, would you drive away? So before I move on, I am not naked. I do have a tube top on. I forgot to say that, and I feel like I need to say it in videos. And if you want prosthetics like this, check out Berman's Laboratory Rubberware. Oh my goodness, they make the best foam latex prosthetics. Let's get on with the creepy stories. This person was walking down the street with a friend from college. A woman was driving down the street and a girl passed them. The girl was about 7 or 8 years old, and she was also walking her dog. She passed some bushes that extended out to the street, and this whole situation was by a park in their neighborhood that wasn't maintained very well. And the woman that was driving didn't see this little girl or her dog and hit them both. And the dog and the girl landed 2 different directions, and the way that they landed, you could definitely, positively, absolutely, Dr. Phil, know that they were dead. And one of them made a sickening crunching sound on impact, but they don't know if that sound came from the girl or the dog. This is so disturbing. Why am I reading this? And then the woman gets out of her car after doing this and starts screaming and crying, of course. And the woman starts yelling at this person saying, "I can't go to jail. I didn't see them." And she was trying to calm the woman down, saying, you know, it was an accident. You may not go to jail, while the girl who saw this friend is calling the police, of course, on the phone. So this woman starts yelling at her to leave her alone and get away from her because she's just hysterical. Of course, this girl does. The woman runs to her car, takes out her purse, and from her purse, she takes out a gun. The woman shoots herself and lands on the hood of her very own car. And this person just stands there in shock. She just witnessed 2 people and a dog die right in front of her. And she was always devoid of reactions after that. Later, this person was told by a therapist that, you know, you did what you could, and this woman who killed herself might have been on drugs for all you know. And then, like, she thinks about the little girl and the dog, because the day she's writing this, that little girl would have been around 21 years old. So this next story is kind of like crazy, and the person who wrote it acts like it's not that crazy because she was in a car wreck when she was 15 and she was wearing her seatbelt, of course, but they had hit a ditch and her head flew through the window next to her. She woke up in a car around 30 minutes later on the way to the hospital. She says she remembers holding a cup halfway full with her own blood on the way to the hospital. She remembers running her tongue against her teeth and she found a gap there, wondering if she was losing a tooth. This is so hard to do this part. These are the brows. Apparently she split that part of her jaw apart and shattered another part of her jaw on the other side. The concentration level for this clown. And the most frightening part for me, because I'm terrified of glass, she had glass shards in her neck and shoulder area. The cuts on her shoulder were 1.5 inches deep and they traveled up her neck to where they got more shallow, and she says she could have definitely died that day. This next person says they live in a dangerous city where there's narco trafficking. And they said that they were coming home around 10 p.m. and they noticed something in the middle of the street while they were driving, and it kind of looked like a black trash bag. But as they got closer, they could see the shape of feet and an arm, the actual outline of the body parts. And they got about 2 feet away from this bag when they realized it was a body of a beat up man. He was beaten to death to where you could see part of his eye out of his face, part of his skull. He had blood from his face to his chest. You could even see multiple stab wounds. And before anyone else could see him there, this person ran home, and the next day they saw in the newspaper, in the news, about this body that they had just seen. This next story is about someone that lived in a small town in Mexico. All the kids in town would play hide and seek at night outside. But instead of just one person seeking out everybody else, there are 2 teams and groups of people, one seeking and one hiding. One night this person was hiding in a bush with another girl, and all of a sudden they hear one of the kids screaming, yelling their head off, and running away. And everyone's like, you need to stop yelling because you're gonna give all of us away in our hiding spot. But the kids started screaming in Spanish, a doll, a doll. They all turned their heads and just saw a tiny figure walking, roaming the streets. And they never played hide and seek there again. This person's grandmother explained this thing called a duendes, just explaining how this could have been real, that she's heard stories like this before. Crazy. This one's not really scary, but more gross. The person writing this works for a morgue. They basically pick up dead bodies for a living. I'm gonna do something a little bit different and add some gray contour to my look, even though the original is like stark white, just to give this character more definition. I'm using this amazing Mayron palette. This is the Mimmels collection. I love it. It's so useful for not only effects but beauty as well. So the person that worked for the morgue, right? So one of the bodies they had picked up was from a guy who sat in his trailer on the toilet for over a month. He had fallen over and died when his head hit the floor. Because he had fallen on his head, all the blood rushed to his head, and he'd been there so long that his head was practically melted to the floor by the time the guy got there. His head was not only melted but stuck there. There was dried blood everywhere because the dried blood had leaked out of his head. Just doing some wrinkles here. So for this job, basically he had to peel off this guy and his head off the floor, and when he did peel that head off, a bunch, I mean, it seemed like thousands of tiny maggots spilled out of his head. You know what's crazy is I always thought of doing forensic makeup for like dead bodies before funerals, but stories like this make me rethink it because I don't know if I have the courage to deal with maggots, you know? That just maggots shouldn't be in my resume or job description. So maybe it's not meant for me. So this next story happened back in the early 2000s on this person's birthday. They had found a girl's car filled with bullet holes on an off-ramp from a freeway late at night. This was en route to this person's ex's house, which was 20 minutes from her house. And you had to go through some mountains to get to this part of the off-ramp freeway, and this happened 2 minutes after this person was actually on the freeway driving, according to like helicopter news. Her ex became involved with the candle vigil. A lot of people were out searching for this girl. And one day while this person was driving near where that girl's car was found, all his electric lights on the car that says like gas is low, check engine lights were all going off at once, and the speedometer flashed 187, which is a code for cops. It's a police code for murder. And this person like turned the car off, you know, made sure to stop, checked that everything was alright, then went on their way back home. Well, a few weeks later, they actually found that girl's body right where that turn was, that all that happened to this person's car. Apparently not only that, but when police investigated this, they found out that the girl had been slowly dying while being raped by her killer. But how insane are those stories? I'm gonna paint my teeth, put a little top hat on, and I'll be back. And just like that, we have turned into Art the Clown. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was so much fun to do. Leave a comment on what other character or person you want me to turn into. If I choose your comment, I will definitely shout you out. Like this video if you want to see more like this. We do 2 videos a week every Monday and Friday, so you can definitely subscribe for some more. I'll put all the products that I use in this video down in the description box below. This would be so incredibly frightening to see at night. Art the Clown is definitely one of the scariest clowns, other than it, of course. I absolutely love clown makeups. I do not know why. I think because they could be happy, sad, scary, beautiful, doll-like, all of the above. And thank you again to Bourbon Laboratories over at Rubberware for providing all these prosthetics. I can't make these videos without them. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.